Creatures of the night, let's talk about Mercedes Moné. I'll be the first one to tell you that I've actually enjoyed all her matches. Every single match that she's had since she's left WWE. I mean, I've enjoyed her matches in WWE as well, but since she's left, I really do feel like she's gone out there and showed people like what betting on yourself can look like, not just wrestling wise, but just as a black woman. Honestly, I really find that to be very commendable. Now, she's had nothing but amazing matches. And I know, go ahead and throw out the one that she had with fucking Britt Baker. Is probably the worst match that she's had. And honestly, I think that as a person who's seen every single match that she has done since she's left WWE, except for this very last one that I'm about to talk about, I think that they've all been amazing. But that might have been the worst in terms of ranking all her matches that she's done. Now, Mercedes Moné, obviously she still had the TBS title for over a year now. She's also has had the New Japan Strong Women's Championship as well, where she recently lost to Azumi in a triple threat match against Mina Shirakawa as well. So she lost that title recently, and now she has won the Owen Hart Cup tournament. She's going to be going against Toni Storm at All In, and that's just going to be an amazing match. And obviously, the women's championship is on the line. And she does have she's the undisputed women's Rev Pro champion at this point too. So to be undisputed, it's them literally. She has two titles that she is holding right now. She ended up taking those titles from Mina Shirakawa earlier this year, back on January 5th at Wrestle Dynasty. And she's walking around with all these belts on, and here she is on Friday. She had went to, surprise, surprise, no one knew about this, but she had traveled all the way to Vienna in Austria, and she went to go have a match. So she went to the European Wrestling Association, and she went against some poor unfortunate soul and ended up winning the championship. So now she has another title. It's a really pretty title. I'll post it here so you guys can see at least a picture from there. Now, I looked everywhere to see where I could find this match, so I have not been able to watch it, so I can't really review it. And I was kind of curious on seeing the match before talking about it, because I wanted to see like what it was looking like for her against her opponent, if it really seemed like much of a match to begin with. Now, some people, matter of fact, a lot of people didn't even know about this. So me looking around and seeing nobody really talking about it, so that's why I'm doing the video on it. And those who know about it, they're really happy about it, because it's like the promotion should be happy because this puts them on the map. Otherwise, no one would be talking about this promotion if she didn't go over there and win the championship. That is actually very true. No one would be talking about it if she didn't go over there and win. But with that being said, that is also where there's pros, there are cons as well. And with her going over there and winning that, taking it off some poor indie girl that's back there and holding this title, it's very interesting to me, because I don't know where this actually goes for her. We're literally just a month away before All In, where she may or may not win the AEW Women's Championship. Since she's held the Rev Pro Women's Undisputed Championship, she's only defended the title once. Only once. She's had many title defenses when it comes to the TBS title and when it came to the New Japan Strong Women's Championship as well. But the Rev Pro title, it's not have been that great. Now, initially when she won the championship, Rev Pro actually put out that, hey, she won it, and then within 24 hours, all the subscriptions to their subscription for their promotion has gone up due to Mercedes winning. And I was just like, oh, that's really great, because this is what promoting does, where you take your title, put it on someone as big as Mercedes, and, she goes on to represent the company with a title. But you've only literally had one title defense literally a couple of weeks ago. So how does this help long term when someone is just like, well, I'm going to tune into your promotion because of who won the championship, but the person is never on? Mercedes, we love you, but at this point, I've seen comments about people saying that, oh, it's Mercedes Hogan now, and when people are saying the Hogan thing, is in reference to Hogan conjuring up a larger than life contract for himself in WCW to put himself over. He had quite an amazing run in WWE, and when he was, well, WWF, and pretty much being the boy toy of Vince McMahon, so he got a lot of great opportunities. And for him to continue to look like this mega star in WCW, he had all this ridiculous foolishness in his contract, so he can always put himself on top. Now, I won't go on to say that's what happened with Mercedes. I do feel like there's a little bit of truth to that, in terms of her sitting down with probably the best lawyers in the business and them saying, all right, this is what we want in the contract, this, that, and that. And that's what they end up doing for her, because look at how amazing she's looking in terms with all these titles and having all these opportunities that she's had in so slightly over a year now within AEW. Now, outside of her being AEW, anything else that she's doing is more independent to what she's doing, and probably has nothing to do with AEW. So she goes over there to Vienna. She has this match, and she ends up winning the title. Now everybody's talking about it. It's literally on the newspaper and on the news over there in Austria, and that really is a big deal. However, where is it going? Because honestly, I have been just like, well, for you to be holding all these titles, like, you're gonna have to put in a lot of work, and she has put a lot of work. However, what that means is one or two of these titles are definitely going to get neglected, because you can't be everywhere all the time. So now people are looking at the situation like she's doing great. Sure, she's doing great, but like, holding titles is more than just being someone walking around with all these titles that you can barely hold. It is about being a champion, a reigning defending championship. If you literally had a title for 6 months and you have not been able to defend it but one time, what are people going to say about your legacy with this title? I do feel like when it comes to wrestling nowadays, a lot of wrestlers, not even per se the fans, wrestlers just feel like, well, I got this new title that I can post on Instagram and social media. And it's just like, okay, well, all right, well, what have you done as a champion? What have you done? Like, there's a lot of people where nowadays, especially 2025, where it just seemed like it's more important to just have a title rather than being a champion that you can literally look back in the history books and say, oh wow, I remember when so and so was champion, they did this, they did that, they had these legendary matches and feuds and stuff. A lot of people are not even having any feuds or anything. They're just having matches and just getting away with just that, and not necessarily seeming to be great champions. So, like, in other words, a lot of wrestlers are just content with just holding titles and not necessarily adding any prestige to having championships. So I don't necessarily know if her winning this title would actually mean anything else for this promotion, if anything. She has a TBS title for over a year, and with there only being 2 titles on the AEW roster for the women's, 2 singles titles, because obviously we don't have tag or anything else for the girls. And for her to be holding that title and going against Toni Storm at AEW All In, which is keeping her from putting the TBS title on the line. So we will only have one women's championship, AEW Women's Championship, on the line at the pay-per-view, which when you think about it, it's like, okay, maybe the agenda is for her to be winning all these titles, but at the same time, all these girls are taking a back seat. All these girls are going to be sitting and catering in the middle of Texas, not being able to have a title to go for, which in the long term, it kind of seems a little bit wild, because if she ends up winning the AEW Women's Championship at All In, it'll be like, okay, well, one person got all the chips, up in a casino. And honestly, for me, it sounds cool to be at that situation, because like, imagine it's you're holding the only titles when it comes to the women's division. For a moment, it does sound cool, but when we're thinking long term, like, what does that mean for all the other girls that we love and care for? It doesn't mean a damn thing for them with her holding those titles. And like I said, for me personally, when it comes to wrestling and when it comes to holding championships, like the prestige of the titles means a lot. Sometimes, just who's holding a title obviously means a lot. And sure, her holding any of these titles does add value to the titles. But so far, personally, after watching all these matches, except for this last one that I can't find, I haven't necessarily found any feud that she's done that's been noteworthy where I'm going to sit there and tell my grandchildren about in the future. Like, there hasn't been any feuds necessarily that interesting. Honestly, I can't really say there's been actually any feuds itself. I mean, she did something interesting with Harley that did help put Harley up a bit, but I do feel like overall Harley was the one that really carried herself. She has a lovable personality. She's improved in the ring, so that's definitely helped her move up a little bit in the card. Unfortunately, she's injured right now, so that's definitely not helping at this point. But overall, I don't know if I could truly say that, aside from the amazing matches that she's had with these titles since she's been, wrestling independently and being part of AEW, I have not seen anything noteworthy in terms of a feud or noteworthy in terms of her putting people over. So we'll see what ends up happening with her, not only with just, TBS title, because like I said, that keeps other girls from being at All In going for a championship, but also the AEW Women's Championship as well is another thing that she could possibly win. And then we have the Rev Pro titles that obviously ain't going nowhere because she's not defending those. And then we have the new title that she won, the AWA Championship. I don't know where that's going either as well. All I'm just hoping is that besides just her name holding the weight, that she can add some value to these titles since we're just keeping other women from holding these titles. I wish there was a little bit more when it comes to her being part of these promotions. I wish there was a little bit more in terms of her putting more girls over. So far, it just seemed like I'm going out there, I'm having amazing matches, but nothing is coming about any of the girls truly, working with me and in terms of them going for any titles. Why? Because I have all the titles. Guys, thanks so much for watching my video. See you guys on the next one.